Good evening, and first tonight, new details about a deadly crash into Portland's Multnomah Athletic Club, one that authorities say appears to be a clear attempt to try to cause as much damage as possible. We're talking 20 propane tanks and 10 homemade bombs, police say, some of which exploded and that were found in or around the suspect's vehicle. We're glad you're with us tonight. I'm David Mulco. Investigators and Bruce Whitman's family shedding new light about the driver who was killed Saturday morning in that rampage recorded on video. Alma McCarty talked with police and prosecutors tonight, and Alma, it seems Whitman had been on their radar for years.
Yeah, David, Bruce Whitman isn't a stranger to Portland police, especially to their behavioral health unit. An officer-clinician duo first responded to concerns from Whitman's neighbors 5 years ago.
In 2021, neighbors reported Bruce Whitman to police, accusing him of violent outbursts and threats.
Bruce Whitman was on our radar. He was referred back in 2021.
But despite that referral, Whitman would continue to struggle, interacting with law enforcement several times over the next several years.
Although he did agree to speak with us on a few occasions, he was not receptive to our efforts to refer him to mental health services.
Whitman worked at the Multnomah Athletic Club from 2012 until he was fired in 2019. By 2022, court records show Whitman had been threatening members of the club at their homes and outside of the club. Sergeant Josh Silverman with PPB's Behavioral Health Unit says that's when Whitman's behavior met the threshold for a peace officer hold and an extreme risk protection order. He was held in mental health treatment for 2 weeks. A firearm was taken away for a year.
I'll say that there's a gap in the law here where unless someone commits a crime, my office has very limited ability or tools to be involved. The civil commitment process really only gives us just a short window to hold someone, to have them seek medical treatment.
Whitman was hospitalized this February after he attempted suicide. Court documents show this time he gave up 2 guns to police. Months later, investigators say he crashed an explosives-filled car into the ground floor of the MAC before 3 a.m. Saturday.
This gentleman was sophisticated, he was intelligent, and it is simply luck that we didn't have a much larger blast.
Inside the vehicle, first responders found 20 propane tanks and about 10 improvised explosive devices. Some of those did detonate. Sergeant Jim Dufresne says had things gone differently, the explosion could have easily resulted in a blast 5 times larger.
Everything we know now, we knew nothing. So the firefighters began to pull the propane tanks out, and one of the firefighters opened up a door and a partially detonated pipe bomb fell at his feet. And so it is just luck sometimes. And what we had that kept some of these folks from getting hurt or a much bigger tragedy is simply luck.
None of the propane tanks in the car exploded, according to police. The damage from the crash and fire that followed was contained to the ground floor of the building. The MAC plans to stay closed at least another week. David?
And remarkable that no one else was killed. Thanks, Alma. Bruce Whitman's family, by the way, says he suffered from a bipolar disorder, dealt with a lot of paranoia, and was even worried he was being stalked by his former employer. KGW Celine Stevens spoke with his cousin over the phone.
The fact that he ended his own life was not shocking. It was surprising that he did something so big.
It also turns out we interviewed Whitman for a story back in 2015. That's when he released 2 chickens dyed pink on Portland's waterfront. At the time, Whitman said it was to make people smile. His family says he was a giving person who had a food library outside his North Portland home.
He was a kind, caring, compassionate person, and that was all eclipsed by his mental health.
His cousin believes Whitman chose to drive into the building at 3 in the morning so fewer people could get hurt. A reminder tonight, if you or someone you know is struggling, help is available 24/7. Just call or text the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. That number is 988. Developing tonight, another difficult story, one involving child sex abuse, and according to authorities, a Clark County pediatrician. A warning, this case also references suicide. Catherine Cook is just back from La Center, where that doctor lived. Catherine?
David, I spoke to several neighbors off camera. They tell me this whole case is shocking, but they're also not entirely surprised, saying they witnessed the doctor behave inappropriately at times. They say they're relieved he can't hurt anyone else. This house in La Center is where pediatrician Dr. Michael Wilmington lived, a house where Vancouver police say Wilmington hosted naked sleepovers and sexually abused at least one child known to him. Police are also looking for a second child, one of Wilmington's patients, whom they believe attended one of his sleepovers. According to court documents, Wilmington worked at Kaiser Salmon Creek in Vancouver. On Friday, police issued a warrant for Wilmington's arrest on child molestation charges. On Saturday, police found Wilmington dead of an apparent suicide. According to Kaiser Permanente, officers told them about accusations against Wilmington on April 30th. Kaiser says they fired him immediately and are cooperating with police. The allegations in this matter are serious, said a Kaiser spokesperson, and our primary concern is for our patients, their families, and our workforce. Police say Wilmington was friends with another suspect in this case, Chad Hartley, a physician's assistant who worked at this Peace Health medical clinic in Vancouver. Last week, police arrested Hartley on molestation and child pornography charges. They pulled several online images of him as evidence in the case. Police say Hartley had just left work at the clinic and was walking home to the Fisher's Mill apartments when they arrested him. Court documents show Hartley and Wilmington met through the nudist community. Investigators are asking any parents whose children may have had unsupervised contact with either Wilmington or Hartley to call their local police department. David.
Catherine Cook in the newsroom tonight. Thanks, Catherine. If you or someone you know is a survivor of sexual assault and needs someone to talk to, the National Sexual Assault Hotline is one resource. It's available 24/7 at the number on your screen. It's 800-656-4673. To get you caught up on tonight's other headlines now, deputies have identified the man who died while doing maintenance on a chairlift at Mount Hood Ski Bowl. The Clackamas County Sheriff's Office says 29-year-old Gregory Hunter of Government Camp died on Thursday morning when a maintenance basket he was working in plummeted to the ground. An online memorial page describes Hunter as full of adventure, someone who loved all kinds of outdoor activities from rock climbing to whitewater rafting. OSHA says it's opened a workplace death investigation. Another employee also in the basket was hurt, but ultimately survived. A man charged with shooting and killing a 26-year-old woman outside a Southeast Portland party in 2023 will serve more than 2 decades in prison. 34-year-old William Watson pleaded guilty to manslaughter this morning in court. He says he was trying to defend himself from someone else when he shot Callie Bolden.
I was firing at him. I never even saw her in my line of view. One, I would never kill an innocent woman.
Bolden was the youngest of 5 sisters and had 3 children of her own at the time of her death. Watson was sentenced to 22 years in prison. And Clackamas firefighters worked to stabilize a home today after a car towing a trailer crashed right into the front. This was on Southeast Brewster Place in Milwaukee around 2:30 this afternoon. The fire crews put together beams to support that structure so the car could be pulled out without that house collapsing. No one inside the home was hurt, and the 2 people in the car got out safely as well. No word yet on the cause of that crash. Well, let's switch to a live look over the Rose City on this Monday evening after another showstopper of a day. Chief Meteorologist Matt Sfinos here with a first look at the week ahead. Hey there, Matt.
Hey, David. Yeah, it was a good one. The morning clouds, the afternoon clearing, and temperatures very, very comfortable. There's Salem right now. Speaking of comfortable temperatures, it's 55 degrees. Notice the southwest wind in Salem at 6 miles an hour. We hit 76 in Portland today, down from yesterday's record of 91. 60s and 70s down the valley, some 80s in eastern Oregon, but everybody cooled off. You can see the marine layers that burned off. We'll have it again in the morning. In fact, it's beginning to form up already, and we know that because we get reports on the cloud cover, but also those winds I mentioned, right? Look at McMinnville, southwest at 12 miles an hour, south at Aurora at 6. Eugene, a pretty good tell, southwest winds there. This all means that that cooler coastal air is flooding back into the Willamette Valley or continuing to flood into the Willamette Valley from the coast, and that's what will keep us cool, and that's what will give us the morning cloud cover. So that's what we get not only tomorrow morning, but all week long, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and into Friday. We may see a few sprinkles from a weak disturbance, but the good news is Mother's Day weekend looks amazing. More on that in a bit, David.
The season of sunshine. Thanks, Matt. Okay, to a major traffic alert that'll impact the Portland Metro later this summer and fall because ODOT plans to close a section of southbound I-5 right through the heart of the city and for some 5 weeks. Here's what we know. This is all southbound lanes, the connector to I-84 along with some on-ramps through the Rose Quarter starting September 11th. Crews will be completely replacing the concrete on the elevated roadway, among other improvements that haven't been done in decades. Again, all southbound I-5 traffic will be detoured over the Fremont Bridge while local traffic can exit at Broadway-Wilder. ODOT already warning backups could stretch across the river into Vancouver.
This is going to be some of the worst traffic this region has seen in a while. We know that drivers don't always have the option to take any other route through this area. They need to pass through. So we are asking drivers to plan ahead the best they can.
ODOT says closing the stretch of interstate, again, all southbound lanes 24/7 for 5 weeks was more cost-effective and safe than relying on weekends or overnight closures. There's more, by the way. Crews will likely tackle the northbound lanes sometime in mid to late 2027. Well, at least we got a year, right? We call it a big pothole of a project with repaving now underway on a stretch of Portland's Northwest 23rd. Got caught up in this myself. PVOT will be grinding up the battered road, replacing the top layer of asphalt along 7 blocks from Lovejoy to Vaughan Monday through Thursday this week and next. Traffic being diverted at least a block back on either side. And this is just a temporary fix. A full rebuild will likely happen when the streetcar is expanded to Montgomery Park. Construction on that could begin as soon as next year. New at 11, less than a month after its much touted return to downtown Portland, the Thompson Elk Fountain is once again in need of repairs. Southwest Main is closed between 3rd and 4th to fix minor damage sustained when a truck's trailer hit the fountain's base last week. Stone was chipped and oil stained the surface, though the elk itself was not damaged. Thank goodness for that. It's not clear how long this repair work will take.